Hello again, everyone. Well, people seem to enjoy the session I had yesterday with Cleo, my granddaughter, and we made these backgrounds here. The two cards that I made from that session were these two. I have put them onto the community tab on my YouTube channel, and they were also on my Facebook group. I don't believe I've actually yet added them to Instagram, but I will do it. This is one half of the piece of embossing that we did. This is the other, and that's the side that they were in. This was the right-hand side. This was the left-hand side. And you can see by the finish that there is a difference between the two. However, since making the cards, which I did after we'd finished doing the video, some people have asked about how I actually mounted and presented this card. So I thought I would do a little bit more, showing you what we did at the end of the video with a few more colours, different brands, plus show you how to mount one as I did here. Apologies to those who've been crafting for years and know all about it, but there are a lot of people still who are fairly new to the craft and just need to find out. Okay, here we go. These are the other experiments we did. We used some distress oxide, as I did in the video, as a base. We used black soot, but for others I did use a thin layer of gesso, and to be honest, the gesso, it does give a more distinct difference. I think this one was gesso. So what I have done, I've put the experiments on the table and the powders above them, which we used. I can't remember what that purple one was, don't know what we did there. But this side is lovely. It was with this pixie powder, peacock green. And you can see when you move it in the light, the difference between the two colours. This one did not have any gold. You can see some gold highlights here. Weren't they beautifully done? Cleo did that using this, which is Enchanted Gold Gilding Polish. She used such a delicate touch, and she's just highlighted some of the tips of the petals, which I thought was fabulous. This one was with Nouveau Shimmer Powder, and this one was Catherine Wheel. Again, this one, it's got differences of colour, as you can see, where the black was and where the red is, but no gold. So once more, Cleo went over it very gently with this gilding polish in Enchanted Gold. This was the original. This is what's left of the piece of card after making the cards that I just showed you. This is Luscious Powder in Dragon's Eye, and this does have gold and blue within it. This one is A Pretty Gets Gritty, and this one does have the gold as well. This one is Mermaid. So that's a really, they're called Pretty Explosions, and they are pretty fabulous. So what I propose to do is to just choose one of these. I think I might choose the red one and make a card showing you what I did with yesterday's process. So I'll just pop these to one side and we'll use the red one. Now, because, well, I was going to say because it's embossed, I don't like to die cut, because die cutting would flatten this embossing. So the reason I mounted these this way was to preserve that dimension. So this piece actually was cut with a trimmer, but I'm not keen on trimmer edges. As you know, I always go over them with an embossing tool like this, just to soften them slightly. They look raw to me when they've been cut with either scissors or a trimmer. So I'm going to cut it with the trimmer, but then I'm going to mount it onto a slightly larger square out of just plain white paper. this is what I make my cards from. All my cards. I never buy card bases. I always make them. And they come from sheets of A4 like this. A4, British A4. It's kind of different from the US one. So to make a square card, I just cut a strip down the side, which when this is folded, gives me a square card. So this is about 150 by 150 square when it's done. That always leaves me a strip like this of scrap, and that is very often what you'll see me bringing out to do die cuts with. So I'll just show you how I go about making the card to start with. This is the cut piece. I use a scoring board like this. This one is from Vazen, and I have illuminated the lines I use most often with a Sharpie, just so that I don't have to look exactly where it is up there. I usually use a Teflon scoring tool or bone folder or whatever. This one is from Gummy Pan. So just drag it down on the right side of the card. This card is slightly linen textured, and I'm scoring on the right side. So then I turn it over, hold my fingers close to the fold and bend. Now this is very important, this bit, is making sure that those corners are absolutely in line with each other. You can't see it, can you? Can you see it now? I think you can now. You can push it up into the corner if you like, which is a really good guide, but just make sure that those corners, the top layer is over the bottom layer, and then score down, holding it very still to make sure it stays. So there's my card base, easy peasy. Now, what I very often do with cards is to add a front panel. If you look at this one here, there is a panel on the top. It's just another way of framing whatever's in the middle. For this one, I used a stitched die. A lot of people have been asking, how do you get those marks? Well, it's so easy because you buy a die that's got the stitching marks on. Some dies have the stitching just on the inside of the cutting line, which means that when you cut out a shape, you'll get a little stitched edge. But this one is what's called a double stitched. There's a stitching line on both sides of that cutting line, which is down the centre there. So that means that if you cut out anything with this, the piece that comes out of the middle will have stitching on it, and the piece remaining will have stitching on it as well. So that's an interesting thing to be able to find. So let me just cut one of these, as I did for that card there. Here, this is just half a sheet of A4, and this die is just slightly smaller, so it'll fit neatly onto the front of one of those cards that I just folded. Okay, I'm going to put it into my die cutting machine, and we'll just cut this out. There we go. Right. If you take a look, I don't want the outside this time, but if you take a look at this piece has got the stitching on it, and this piece has got the stitching on it too. Don't need that one for now. That's going to be in my scrap drawer. Now, this one has got quite a lot of stitching around here, but I didn't cut anything out. That is embossed. I used a smaller die from the same set. Here you can see it. And rather than cutting with it, I embossed with it, which means that I used it to press into the card surface. So let me do that now. And the way to do that is this. Here's my base plate. For this particular machine, every machine has a different sandwich, but for this particular machine, which is a Spellbinders Platinum 6, I used my base plate, a rubber mat, then I would put the card onto it, face side up, the right side up, place this where I want the embossing, very neatly. And I'm going to put just a little low tack tape on to make sure that it doesn't budge when it goes through the machine. And I'm just going to put a skinny bit because I don't want this to emboss the card either. So just put a little bit, get it straight in a mo. All right, I tend to eyeball things. If you're not sure that you've got an eye for a straight or parallel line, then the thing to do is to use a T ruler. So she just can't put, should be here, can't see it. Oh Lord, story of my life. I was trying to be all suave then and just grab it and I can't see it. Never mind, we'll just put this on here. Okay. I think that's about right. Where's my tea ruler gone to? I did have a little friend here yesterday, and sometimes things don't finish up in quite the same place as they were to start with. But it's more likely to be me than her. Okay, with this machine, I have a special embossing plate. So that goes on the top, and through my machine it's going to go. Okay. You do need a rubber mat if you want to. Oh, and it's slipped now, look. Oh, rubbish. That is absolute rubbish. And where I made a mess of that thing. Let me just do that again. That was rubbish. That will come in for scrap. Right, I need to cut this first. Oh dear, oh dear. Talk about going to pot. Right, where's my big one again? Here we are. Okay. Cut it out. Right, those were useless. I need to just keep it as it was, I think. Right, here's my panel. Here's my embossing mat. Okay, place it on. This time, just use the whole piece, Christine. Don't try and be clever. Right. I'm putting more of it on the inside because a lot of that's going to be behind the panel in the middle. Okay. Now I'll try again. See how we get on. Oh dear. Trouble is, with this particular machine, the embossing plate is opaque. I can't see if I couldn't see that it had moved, you see, before it went through. Some machines have regular perspex see-through plates, so you can tell if it's okay. Right, now I need to take this off carefully. This low tack tape from Sticks to Anything is lovely. There we go. So now we have an embossed square. And what I did for the rest of it was, let's go back to my red. I will cut out a square that's going to fit into here. How big do I want it? That one measures, can you see that one is actually perforated through just a tad? So what I'll do with that is put a little bit of foam tape, because I'll be putting this on foam tape. I'll put it over that, just make sure it stays together. Right. Oh no, that's the one I'm throwing away. Oh, silly. Has this one cut through? No, this one's fine. This one's fine. Right. This measures about, where do we start there? Well, I can just do it by sight, really. Here's my squared eyes. What did I do with that one? Yes, I just cut it, put it onto one. Is that the one? That looks like it. So if I cut one of those, I'll need to cut this slightly smaller than that. So this measures just under 8. So if I make that one about 7, perhaps, let's just see. Cut the top off. Where do I want? Let's cut this tiny edge off there. And then 7, I said, didn't I? 7. There we go. Oh, didn't want to cut properly. That was too quick. Often I will do this on my guillotines to give a really, really sharp cut. Okay, 7. Okay, there's my panel. Now I want to put it onto, let's see if that's the right size. That should be about right, shouldn't it? So let me cut. I can cut it from that piece of waste, can't I? My square that I got wrong. Let's try and get it straight. Okay. I want to get straight with the grain because this, as I said, is linen, and it does have a grain. That was way out, wasn't it? Right. That's it there. Okie dokie. We'll stick that onto the square. I'm going to use my tape runner. Okay. My fingers are sticking back to the back. There we go. They're so pretty, aren't they? Look at that. It's the right way up, actually. And then stick that onto there. Pretty close match. Different part of the embossing folder, but nevertheless, once you've got these backgrounds, actually, it's a really fairly quick card to make. Oh, there's some foam tape. Often I measure this up against the card itself, but this reel is so big at the minute, it's a bit unwieldy, which is why I don't get the lengths absolutely spot on. Just chop. Oops. I can see there, it's a little bit suspect. It's gone a little bit deep. It was probably the first pass through. So I'm going to put a bit of double-sided tape, not tape, foam tape over that, just to make sure that it's not too vulnerable. I think that's going to do. So there's my card front. If you wanted to add another embellishment onto this, a butterfly, a bird, another bit of flower, some insects, whatever you wanted, you could obviously do pop a die cut over the top. If you wanted to put a sentiment partially over it, you could use it for whatever occasion, really. So it's just a few things to think about, really. But if you've taken a bit of trouble and time over doing a background, it's nice to present it in, rather than just shoving it on a card, nice to present it in a way that looks like you've taken a bit of trouble, which you have. Right, I'm just going to put a bit of glue over this so it doesn't grab straight away. This foam tape is so tacky that it often sticks to the card before we've actually had time to position it properly. and I can see a little bit of red on my fingers. Can you? From this. What we need to do with this, before, I should have done it, is just to give it a spritz of water. A mist of water. A mist of water is what sets these embossing powders. I think it does. I know it does with Luscious. I'm not sure if it does with the Nouveau, but I think it does. Most of them have got a binder in there already. So it's just a thought to think about. But there you go. That's how I did it. A copy of that one. Quick and easy. How to do an embossed image on the front. But don't make the mistake I did and put it in quickly and let it move. Make sure it's taped down properly. And as ever, thanks so much for watching.